And welcome to the second episode of SmashCenter, covering the weekends of January 18th, January 20th, 2019. My name is Suar from PGstats, and we're here today to bring you a couple of stories. Given that we are now still in the preseason of Smash Bros. Ultimate, we're seeing a lot of competition on the rise in preparation for Genesis 6, which is set to happen in NorCal at the end of this month, beginning February 1st through the 3rd. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the recap of this weekend's Smash tournaments featuring mostly North American talent, as most of the international scene was quiet this weekend. And so, first up, we have Glitch 6. Many things happened at Glitch 6, and we know the story of Tweek taking the tournament over Nairo. However, there are a couple of tidbits we wanted to report on. First off, we saw a top 8 that featured some of the strongest players that are set to take not only the gold and silver in months to come through Smash Ultimate tournaments around the country and the world, but we saw our strongest to date. We saw Tweek, Leo, Nairo, and Light all present at the event, and to the expense of many, there were some notable misses. However, we saw many things that occurred, and we also saw many things that came to light as we started to see these players get more and more comfortable within their tournament nerves. New game, new nerves. We saw Nairo 3-0 Light in Losers Final after losing to him at the NYXL pop-up shop, which happened earlier last month in New York City. We also saw a very interesting showing from Tamim. Interesting given that he's using a character that many considered gutted upon release. That character would be none other than Bayonetta, who many saw too powerful in Smash 4, but now receive nerfs with increased aerial lag as well as certain knockback and damage values being reduced, those of which were essential to her kit. The meme made a strong showing on top 8 loser side of this event. Glitch 6 featured 551 players, so that was nothing. I mean, nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that is something that's insane. However, we saw even more as Leia was down 2-0 against Light, using Ike the entire tournament as we saw in Smash Conference. For the first time, he takes out the Cloud, took a game, but it wasn't enough as he lost 1. MKLeo himself reporting that this is not his best character, Ike rather, and that Cloud and others are still in his pocket and he's ready to show them at moment's notice, probably hiding them until Genesis 6. We also saw Tweek show off his young Link to close the set against Nairo, making the comeback after being down 3 stocks to 1. Tweek, who even though he took the tournament with Wario, is showing an impressive set already of multiple characters within his arsenal. Lastly, we saw ZD repping the MDVA Pride and showing that he can do it in this game with Fox and not anymore so much Luigi, as he took into an incredible 5th place run. He has something that is just so fun to watch, and many of the players are saying now on the East Coast, he is the Fox to watch along with Light. Notably, however, I do want to stress that we have a situation in which many players were missing from the event. Those players being the Buzz, Samsora, and Void, players of which are being expected to take not only the gold or potentially silver or just top 8 plainly in Genesis, but also players that many people are looking for as they advance the meta. These players being absent at Glitch was again nothing to really be noted beyond the fact that their presence as PGR players was not there. But these players are definitely going to be the ones that people are going to have their eyes on as the season unfolds, starting with Genesis 6. The Buzz, Sam, Sora, and Void will all be present at Genesis 6. Moving right along, we have Frosty Faustings in the Midwest. But on Unrivaled Tournaments, we had a series of events that took many by surprise. Notably, we had a couple seeds that did not make their projected bracket runs and instead were either DQ'd or DQ'd themselves. We did have Earl of M take the entire tournament with solo Lucina, and Frosty, apt name, got 2nd. A very strong Richter main from Chicago that many may not have heard from until today. We also saw Ned, the #1 seed, upset very early by Lil K, an unknown Link main to some, but home to many in the Midwest. He is someone who, or rather homie to many in the Midwest. He's someone who might have not have made the biggest splash in Smash 4, but he definitely took that name and many people are now taking note. Panda Bear, a very celebrated villager main from the Midwest, also a top 8 seed, got 3-0'd by Ned in their qualifier to top 8, which actually left him outside of the top 8 after he was sent to lose by Earl of M. We also had seeds 2 and 3, Echo Fox's DeKill Sage and Tyroy respectively, DQ themselves for reasons that may not be so personal, but also really sad to see even thus. DeKill Sage DQ'd himself to play Skullgirls, and I think he later won. And Tyroy unfortunately fell victim to the weather that we saw now plaguing much of the Midwest and Northeast. We had Rickles, however, Hit Point Tournament's own and celebrated TO in the Midwest, actually make top 8 with solo Ganondorf, finishing 7th after being reverse 3-0'd by Ned. Frosty Faustings represents a very awesome series of events for many players in the FGC and not just Smash. They have many events happening at the same time, featuring, I believe, up to 30 events going on throughout the weekend, along with a mystery event. All these players were very, very competitive, and even though these tournaments are happening in and around the Midwest, many players came forth to meet up in the Midwest and compete for the gold. 278 players, and many of them, again, for the first time making a splash in Ultimate after their tenure in Smash 4 has now let up, are now taking names. Moving right along, however, we have another tournament being featured. We have the very nice Hypertension Ultimate. This tournament featured a very interesting set of players, as we saw one in particular, Larry Lur, not actually take the gold this time around. Yet he wins the whole thing over Larry Lur after he reset Grand Finals and then proceeded to get 3-0. Yeti, of course, being a celebrated Mega Man main that many have known now and seen. Continues to play Mega Man in Ultimate despite changes, but he sticks to the Ironclad Man and got results to boot. He was recently funded to attend Genesis 6, so through compendium goals and the efforts of others, he was able to be supported to be there, and he will be making that continued splash into the event. But for this event, he did take it over Larry Lur, a famed top 10 PGR player that now in Ultimate is seeking to do the same. Cineboo242 finds his way into top 8 and finishes at a 5th place with the controversially weak character Sheik, a character that many players have now deemed rather not top tier, not high tier, but somewhere in the middle, as her kit revolves around the same frame data, but now in an engine and in an environment that rewards much of the same, with many characters now, all characters having the same universal jump squat frame 3, now Sheik doesn't necessarily stand out. Cineboo pulled off what many think is the impossible, but again, at this event at the scale of 180 players, may not pan out at a major such as Genesis. Regardless, still impressive from Cineboo and the others. Congratulations to Yeti for taking the event. Again, Hypertension Ultimate is one of the famed events from the Midwest, and like Frosty Faustings, features many players converging at one point to celebrate a weekend of events that they deem very fun. Last but not least, we have the finale, with the MPGR 2018 being released and announced. We have the top 100 players in Melee being featured on Red Bull this year as they were last time. Red Bull Esports, a very great partner to work with, has been featuring the top 100 of Melee's recent players. Now, with this now starting on January 21st, we will have a series of 10 players released every day up until the top 10 comes out later next Friday, preceding Genesis 6. These players are all very celebrated and very amazing at the game that they play, and as a reminder, the MPGR is made through ballots as opposed to the PGR for Ultimate Smash 4, which will be made by algorithmic calculation. That will conclude the majority of the show for today, but there's one other segment for SmashCenter. This being the second episode, we're trying many different things out, and if this is your first time tuning in, we really appreciate it. We hope that you like or subscribe if you're on YouTube if you want to stay tuned to more updates, but catch this next section. Including all those things and more, as we talked about today with Glitch 6, Frosty Faustings, Hypertension, and the reveal of MPGR, small section from myself, this being Suar Says. Now, you might have heard of it before, but I'd like to make the case for the player we spoke out in the very beginning who won Glitch 6, which would be none other than Tweek. This being an opinion piece is only my view, but I'd like to stress that Tweek, being one of the famed players from Smash 4 going into Ultimate, now has a bounty on his head, but also has a lot to reap, given that the scene is now seeing increased exposure and viewership from a very sleepy community that was thought to be now on its way out, considering that Smash 4 was seeing a decrease in viewership and other people were moving on to other games. Now with the new iteration, eyes are back and interest is renewed. Tweek is one of those players to definitely have on your radar going into Genesis 6, and in my opinion is the player to pick up above all else. He has results that come from Smash 4 that of course are adorned in gold, but now going into Smash Ultimate he hasn't dropped a tournament yet, save for NYXL where he lost to Light and Buzz. Those being his worst losses so far is something many wish they could say. Going over his rankings from previous iterations of the PGR in Smash 4, he first debuted at 15th on the first ever PGR many years ago, that season being Apex 2015 up until the late quarter of that summer. He then got 17th on the second PGR, reigning in, again, still within the top 20, and finally broke into top 15 with the third iteration of the PGR, where he scored 12th. Finally breaking into top 10 in V4, he got 5th, and then in the 5th iteration of the PGR, the latest before PGR top 100, he had 2nd, where he had it only to MK Leo, who seized 1st. Now in the all-time PGR top 100, Tweek seized 7th, and that was something that many people were happy to see, given his early start, with the difficulties in the meta that he was adjusting to, and the character pool he was starting to finally take control of, to now the end, where he finished very strongly, juggling the likes of DK, Bayonetta, and more. Cloud being of course his centerpiece and not being seen so far within Smash Ultimate, Tweek is showing us despite that with Young Link and Wario that he's able to juggle multiple characters at a high level once again. He recently had Chrom in his roster, but we did not see that play this past weekend, so we're seeing Tweek being able to adapt. Going into Genesis, he will be seeded highly based on his Glitch 6 performance, and in my opinion, through Suar Says, he is the player to pick up before this event. If he were to do well, that would be a huge payoff, and if he does not, there are still events lined up, such as Frostbite 2019, and the potential summit, which he will probably be able to opt in for or get votes to go. If that's not enough, we're going to have the Summer of Smash where he is known to be an ardent traveler, and regardless of the sponsor, he will find his way at the biggest events at the top of the bracket. In my opinion, I think he's the player to pick up before Genesis, and if he's still not picked up after Genesis, then many orgs are making a mistake. That concludes it for today. I think that the second episode of SmashCenter is now over. I believe. If you enjoyed it, I suggest that you stay tuned until next week where we have our third episode going into the beginnings of Genesis and what's going to lay the groundwork then. My name is Suar from PGstats, and if you still haven't tuned in, now you're tuned in. SmashCenter is here to bring you results, recaps, and drama from around the scene. Smash Ultimate is still young and we're still in the preseason for the PGR. PGR will begin with Genesis 6 and more announcements are pending. We really appreciate everybody that's come by into the channel as well the stream. Once again, my name is Suar, this has been SmashCenter, and you have been SmashCenter. Please enjoy, and we'll see you.